Hi, this is Steve at Specialty Auto Sports, located in beautiful East Tennessee. I want to welcome you to a series of discussions involving the Porsche 356A Speedster. And primarily, we're going to be talking about the topic, why do Speedsters leak? It's a common topic. It's been around for many years. In fact, it's been around as long as the Speedster's been around, and it persists today. What I'm going to do here is to show you the elements of the Speedster's design, its construction, and its utilization that cause these leaks to occur. Later, in other parts, we're going to discuss some potential solutions for these things. But first of all, take a look at the Speedster top. This is a pretty typical shape of a Speedster, pretty true to form. This particular top happens to be made of vinyl. Came to us by virtue of another manufacturer, which we did not use because all of our tops are made with canvas, which is advisable to use canvas in the use of these tops because it fits better, it won't stretch, and it won't wrinkle like this top. However, if you'd like to see how some of these cars look out in the real world, as we say, take a look at this picture right here, which was recently discovered on the internet for sale. It shows pretty much the same condition. And here's another one taken from the same source, which shows the same thing. So this is pretty realistic, even though it is a mock-up. Let's talk more about the leaking. First thing, the Speedster top is comprised of two elements. What you see, the top, the bow system, and what we call a side curtain. The side curtain is the silver-looking object which is located above the door, and it fills in the void, which we call the window. There are no windows in a Porsche Speedster. There are side curtains. These side curtains are held to the car by mechanical fastening two pegs, one at the front and one at the back, which are attached to the frame which makes up the side curtain, which we'll discuss in a moment. They fit in peg holes in the top of the door, and they remain there as long as you need them. These are usually stored in the trunk area, so when you see the need for them, you have to exit the car, retrieve the side curtains, open the doors, install them, close the doors, and go through a ritual that we'll show in a moment, which is necessary. The other parts of the side curtain which have to be discussed, and these are the sources of leaking, are the interfaces. The interface of greatest concern is at the windshield. And I will show here, by looking at it from an angle, that you can see that there is light showing between the side curtain, which goes behind the windshield. You can get a little better fit by a little more flexible fabric, and most of them are. And that's really not a problem, even though it looks like one, because it is behind the windshield. The flow of cold, wet air coming at the car at 65 miles per hour is not going to find its way between the side curtain and your windshield because it is behind it. Very smart thinking on Porsche's part. At the very bottom, unfortunately, though, there is a flap which lays on the body. And at speed and wind, you can see it's going to lift up. And as it lifts up, it exposes a very vulnerable area down below there, which will cause a leak. Simultaneously at the top, unavoidably, is the joint between the side curtain, the top, and the windshield, which creates a void or a cavity which cannot be avoided. And as you can see, if a pencil will go through there, so will a drop of rain, and so will cold air. The other line of defense, or lack of defense probably, is the flap that lays over and on top of the side curtain. It is just that, a flap. The side curtain must go beneath it so that it has an umbrella effect. And it works pretty well sitting out in the rain. However, while driving down the road at speed, you can see by touching it that it actually flaps up and down. And when it does lift up and lift it a little higher, you'll see that what's behind there is nothing but another flap. Since the side curtain has got to be held just shy of going too far up in there so the door will be able to open, it is only an umbrella. Another problem is the same flap back here at the back. It doesn't take a genius to see that that is a scoop. And driving down the road at speed, cold, wet air is going to be scooped up, blown between the two flaps, and into the car, and more exactly, about into your left ear. However, you don't drive a lot in those conditions, so it's not a real problem other than the fact that your car is going to get wet. you're going to get cold, and the side curtains are not going to do too much to protect you. Now, the side curtain itself depends on things that are behind it. Let's remove the side curtain and take a look at what is supporting all of this. Notice that the side curtain has to be pulled from beneath the flap. Notice, as we're talking about flaps, there's another flap. The flap that backs up the outer flap is the inner flap, and you can see it's no more protective than the outer flap, and its sole purpose is for the side curtain to rest against and form some sort of an air and water barrier against 65-mile-an-hour wet, cold air. I don't think you have to think too hard about this to see that that's not very effective. But truthfully, it probably never was meant to be effective. This was, in fact, a club racing car brought into the country by Porsche. People love them. They love the look of the car. They love the shape. It's a wonderful car that is worldwide acceptance, and a little problem like leaking around the window has not deterred this car from being one of the favorite sports cars ever produced. However, people drive these cars now in more regular driving conditions, and without that protection that they're used to, it can be aggravating. The mildew of the carpet, the cold, wet air does take away some of the enjoyment that could be had if the car didn't have these little flaws. But nonetheless, still a popular car, loved by everybody who owns one and even people who don't. But this is a problem that has been around. What we're going to do in part 2 is talk about some of the efforts that have been made over the years by individuals and by companies who build these cars to alleviate or to remove these very unpleasant features. And that will be part 2, and I invite you to participate with us in that in an upcoming presentation. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to seeing you again.